Well, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, has launched a probe into the suicide of internet activist Aaron Swartz. Now, the prodigy died weeks before he was supposed to face a federal court on the accusation of stealing MIT archived journals. The head of the MIT says any role of the institute in this tragedy is a real pain. It all happened at a time when the U.S. government was pressing charges against Swartz. Washington also increased his felony courts from 4 to 13 in the new indictment. Swartz was a supporter of the open access to information and used to criticize the U.S. and Israel for launching cyber attacks on Iran. Throughout his career, the internet activist was also against many of U.S. President Barack Obama's policies, especially his so-called kill list.
Angry internet activists mourn the controversial death of Aaron Swartz. Online comments are pouring in, blaming the American justice system for the alleged suicide of the 26-year-old blogger. Swartz's death came weeks before he was due on trial for alleged computer fraud, among other charges. U.S. government prosecutors accused him of breaking into a closet at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and downloading millions of academic journal articles from a subscription-only service there. Swartz had pleaded not guilty to charges of computer fraud, wire fraud and other crimes. They carried a maximum sentence of 35 years in prison and a $1 million fine after the U.S. government increased the number of felony counts against him from 4 to 13. His family and supporters say the looming trial contributed to Swartz's alleged suicide and accused the prosecutors of being overzealous in pursuing the case. A family statement reads,
"Aaron's death is not simply a personal tragedy. It is the product of a criminal justice system rife with intimidation and prosecutorial overreach. Decisions made by officials in the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney's Office and at MIT contributed to his death."
Swartz began computer programming as a child, and when he was only 14, he developed the RSS feeds that are now the norm for publishing and syndicating frequent updates online. He then went on to help launch social news website Reddit. The blogger was vocal in criticizing the U.S. President Barack Obama's administration. He was also critical of the joint U.S. and Israeli cyber attacks on Iran. In an interview, he said Washington was using dangerous security measures against other countries in its cyber warfare.
Well, I think the biggest threat right now is that the United States government is paying people for security vulnerabilities. And this is a huge sea change in the security community. Previously, if you found a security vulnerability in a piece of software, you couldn't make money off of it. What you would do is you would disclose it and it would get fixed, and everyone's computers would be more secure. The U.S. government has shifted this to a policy where now people are auctioning off these vulnerabilities to the highest bidder. The U.S. government is willing to pay for them, and I'm sure other countries are going to be willing to pay as well. You know, this is an extremely dangerous move by the U.S. government because it means now these vulnerabilities that aren't just in Iranian computers, they're in everyone's computer all over the world, are going to be available to hackers and governments and anybody willing to pay for them.
That it kind of makes...
In the same interview, Swartz also referred to Obama's controversial kill list. He said, being a U.S. president from the Democratic Party, Obama managed to get away from all the criticism surrounding his controversial actions under the name of war and terror.
Right. The other week we saw a story where Barack Obama has a weekly Tuesday terror meeting where they go through a kill list of people that he's allowed to execute via drones, you know, even American citizens that he's murdered. And, you know, if this had happened under George W. Bush, people would be out in the streets screaming. But by making sure it happens under a Democratic president, you know, it's normalized. The people on the left who would normally criticize it stay quiet because they don't want to let Mitt Romney win. And so, you know, that's the reason Dick Cheney and other Bush administration officials have been so supportive of Obama's actions in the war on terror. It's because this is the way you normalize those sorts of things.
Aaron Swartz, who's finding an increasing number of followers after his death, will surely be missed by his friends and supporters. However, controversy remains over the alleged trumped-up charges against him, followed by his mysterious death.
The U.S. Federal Reserve Chief urges the Congress to raise the government's multi-trillion-dollar debt ceiling. Brent Bernanke made the statement during his speech at the University of Michigan. He said the government can only pay its bills once its borrowing limit is raised. The Fed's chairman also said there should be a sensible plan for spending and revenues. Bernanke said the Congress should do what it takes to do in this regard. His comments echoed President Barack Obama's stance over the debt ceiling earlier on Monday. Obama called the Republicans' refusal to raise the debt limit, quote, absurd. He warned that their failure to do so may lead to financial chaos. Well, joining us now via Skype from Irvine, California is Professor Paul Sheldon Foote. He's with the California State University. Many thanks for joining us here on Press TV, Professor. Now, it is interesting to see how Bernanke, at the one hand, is asking Congress to raise the debt ceiling, allow the American government to spend as much as it can, borrow as much as it can, and then on the other hand, he's also saying there should be a sensible plan for spending and revenues. Isn't that a contradiction in terms?
Very much so. Both he and the president were telling half-truths. Half-truths are lies. And to today's press conference, Obama said, well, if we go to an expensive restaurant and eat the food, then when the bill is presented to us, we have to pay the bill, don't we? It'd be very irresponsible not to pay it. Well, Obama's correct on that. He didn't tell the other part of the story, and that is who made the decision to go to the restaurant. When Obama was first elected president, he had Democrats in majority in both the Senate and the House of Representatives, and they have not approved a budget. It's beyond irresponsibility what the Democrats have done since Obama's been in office. So let's do it both ways. Yes, it is definitely wrong to endanger America's credit ratings and to hurt the investments by corporations and the hirings by the debt limit. It's also very wrong not to have approved budgets and live within them. Obama also gave the wonderful example of the defense budget. He said, everyone says they want to reduce defense until it comes to doing it, because then they discover and they have in their own districts some factories and lots of employees who are tied to the defense industry, and then they don't dare vote against it. Both of these party leaders know that if they were to do the right thing, they'd probably be voted out of office. But they don't care to do the right thing for the country. They care to do the right thing for staying in office, on and on, no matter how badly the country is hurt. Indeed.
Speaking of which, some sympathizers say that America is stuck between a rock and a hard place, where the Republicans are asking for no tax cuts, but no tax hikes, that is, but at the same time they want austerity, whereas the Obama administration is looking to make money out of thin air and adding it into the economy, which is not healthy either. Is there a middle ground that these politicians can adopt when they set aside their own political ambitions?
Unfortunately, not with the current batch of politicians. The voters keep returning to office. Folks elected by the Zionists who want endless wars. Having military bases around the world sucks a lot of money. It's a great drain on the American economy. They don't want to cut that. They don't want to cut the entitlement spending. I mean, who would want to give up the possibility of going into a hospital and asking for any procedure you want, no matter how much it costs, and the government says, fine, no problem, we'll do it. You put $1 into the pot, you take $3 out, $6 out, whatever number you want to pick. That system cannot go on forever. That's magic. That's pulling rabbits out of hats.
Okay, that was Professor Paul Sheldon Foote joining us via Skype from Irvine. He's with the California State University. Thank you very much, Professor, for your comments here on Press TV.